today's edition of Community Connect, we address ourselves to the subject of gender justice within faith-based institutions. Of course, we'll talk to experts in the field, and we're going to start first with Nsono Josephine. She is the head of the Peer Foundation. She's been working for a couple of years as a child protection officer and a gender-based violence advocate within the structured Cameroon Baptist Convention Health Services. And today, we're lucky to have her. We spoke to her earlier on, and this is our conversation. Thank you very much for being there for us today. And so our question, we're just going to go straight to the point, just to ask you and to find out what is happening within faith-based organizations in relation to gender-based violence.
Thank you very much. It's a very burdening issue when it comes to faith communities that are supposed to be safe spaces for worshippers generally, be they worshippers from Christian communities, from Islam communities, or whatever worship institution or religious body they belong to. All the GBV cases that we handle boils down to the fact that survivors or perpetrators are members of a worship institution or a faith institution, and they can either belong to the Christian, to the Islamic institutions, or they are African traditional religious worshippers. So there is no way we can separate these survivors or perpetrators from all of this. Even if you are an atheist, there is something that you hold on to so dear. So there is a burden because the increasing number of survivors in the very spaces where they should be protected is an alarming situation. And we want to say that if we get the people who are part of this religious institutions or faith communities, as I put it, they will be able to understand each other better because the underpinnings within their faith institutions are those very holy writings that they believe in. It's either the Quran, it's the Bible, or whatever thing they hold so dear. And for those who have them inscripted, it has undertones. And what are those undertones? That's why we are asking ourselves, how can we get into these holy writings, get into the undertones, and see where GBV is promoted or is ignored or is an oversight. I don't know if I can put it as an oversight, or where outrightly there are GBV cases and nothing has happened, or nobody takes the initiative to ensure that justice is provided. And justice, in our opinion, in this context, is restorative. Because in the worship spaces where we find ourselves, the very essence of being in those worship spaces is to see that we are honoring God and we feel okay as God's creation. And if we are not feeling that because of our gender, and in our context, we don't have multiple genders, we have just two because of our context. And the context tells us that we are born male or female. We are men with the different things that make us who we are, and we are women because of the different biological assignments from creation. So when we are men, women, or female and male, because the religious institution says that because of my man's being, these are the things I should do or not do. Because I am a woman, these are the things I should do or not do. These are the expectations from me. These are the values. These are the perceptions and things like that. Without checking how those underpinnings are affecting one part of those worshipping in that same faith institution or community, then there is a problem. So that's where we are coming. The burden is there. Those things are happening there, but then nothing is happening. Nobody is taking the initiative to resolve them in a way that worshippers can feel comfortable worshipping alongside other genders.
Now, I understand your engagement within faith action across the continent and even beyond. making a case for the Pearl Foundation, which is an institution you've created and you've been leading for a while now. Just so we agree, you've been working on this, and seemingly you are now expanding to a network, having many more people join you. Is this that serious, or is that the battle is just beyond Pearl Foundation?
It's a really heavy burden. The prevalence is so wide. It's so enormous that not even who is Pearl to begin with, not even the Catholic that have the majority of worshippers everywhere in the world, not even the other mainstream religious bodies can be able to address it as a single religious institution. So working from Pearl is because we have had the opportunity to have different stakeholders, different partners, different civil society organizations, different faith institutions come together to see that yes, we have these holy writings that informs us. Because for the Christians that I master so well, their underpinning is the Bible, and there is nothing that they would do that doesn't inform, or the foundation is not from the Bible, whether it is their doctrinal statements, it is their congregational structure, or whatever. It comes from the Bible. And so, if the Bible is that very document that we all ascribe to, and God expects us to work from that perspective, then there is a problem when maybe our doctrinal statement not encompassing for all the people who are supposed to be worshippers. So that's where the problem is. And Pearl Foundation alone cannot handle this. Pearl Foundation cannot break even, not even within the Baptists, because even within the Baptist people have different policies and things that they have put in place. But the thing is still happening. The rates are still alarming. You find parents who are perpetrators of their own very children. We have siblings, we have uncles and aunts, and I mean the extended relations. We have community members, our very own neighbors. And all of these people, interestingly, we gather on Sundays to worship in the same religious institution, or on Fridays we go to the same mosque. So the question is, how do we who lead these communities think differently from how we have been doing things, and say, okay, these things are happening to our own very members. You see, how can we address it so that we also are not victims? Because when one person is a victim, it is the entire family that is affected. So how can we put our heads together and say that, okay, we have this underpinnings in our context, in our holy writings. What is it that is common? What is it that is not God glorifying? What is it that is affecting the other person, that I have a privileged position because we have chosen it to be that way? How can we now be more humane using the very God underpinning from the holy writing? Because God is someone who hates injustice. He doesn't want oppression. So if we are worshiping that same God who doesn't want it, then we should be asking ourselves, how can we now use the perspective of God through the holy writings that we have to ensure that every member, whether it's a male or a female, is a man or a woman, is able to feel belonging, to know that that's a safe space, that if I could speak to my pastor, I could speak to my imam and tell them that this is what I'm going through. They will not look at it from the perspective that, well, this guy who is the perpetrator is a man, I will not be able to do anything, let it stay that way, because the underpinnings are favoring the man, or vice versa. So this is where we are coming from. How can we now question what is in the Bible? We are not questioning it that we should rewrite it. God forbid. We are asking ourselves, looking at one of the stories in the Bible, for instance, the story of Amnon and Tamar. Tamar is a survival. It is recorded in the Bible in Second Samuel chapter 13. This story is so aching to know that there is someone who could give justice to this girl, this lady who was raped by her own very step half brother. The person who could give justice was at the same time the father and the king. I'm talking about King David. But he did nothing. He was angry that Amnon, his son, did this to the half brother, but he did nothing. He was angry that the other son connived with Amnon, his son, to do this kind of a thing. He did nothing. The brother also, Absalom, was very angry but did nothing. But if you read the entire story, you see that at the end of the day, David's kingdom was divided. There was chaos in David's reign because of something that he ignored. So we don't want to get to the level where we'll be having the Osina chiefs in our context. We don't want to get to the level where we'll be regretting that if we had done something. We want to ask ourselves, what can we be doing proactively to ensure that we go again into our holy writings, look at what is there, and see how we can intentionally put in place things that will be able to help every worshiper feel belonging, because that's what gender equality and gender justice is all about.
Now, one of the things we're also gathering is that, for instance, the Catholic Church, actually speaks to the subject of gender-based violence through maybe some channels like the Catechism of the Catholic Church, is generally referred to as a CCC, or the canon law, or the code of the canon law, which is used by the Catholic Church. I mean, therein, they present to you humanity as equal, both male and female. And I think away from that, they have also created other institutions like the Justice and Peace Commission in the case of Bamenda. And I'm also informed reliably that the Cameroon Baptist Convention also has internal policies that speak to the subject of gender. Now, lots of faith-based organizations do not, have gender policies. How important is this at this point in time?
Very, very. I want to say thank you to the CBC Health Services and the hierarchies of the CBC generally, because within our education milieu, there is a safeguarding policy as well. I want to say thank you to all the hierarchy who had given me the opportunity to facilitate the development of all of this. It went through different channels until the boards came together and approved, and now it is policy. This is since 2014, and we have been having opportunities to revise. This is different from looking at maybe the Baptist handbook that informs how churches are structured. Because these policies were developed especially within the health board. Now, when we come to how the churches are structured and they are functioning, it is the CBC handbook that informs that we do not have underpinnings, that will be able to tell that if this happens in a church, these are the strategies to use to be able to redemptively or restoratively give justice to the survivors. So this is where we are crying foul. That, like in the CBC churches and to other churches that do not, or let me call it faith institutions or communities, wherever you are worshiping and whatever you hold so dear as your supreme authority, what are the things we can do to make sure that, one, we have these policies that are in place, and two, we elaborate strategies that can support the identification, holistic referral, and intervention of survivors when they are faced with one violence or the other. That will help to reduce, because if the church already knows or the worship house already knows that there is something like this in place, lots and lots of people will be able to shy away, because I think there is impunity, or there is the prevalence, the increase in the prevalence, because there is ignorance. For instance, the Baptist handbook, not everybody is aware or understands the content, because you have to buy it, you have to read it, and you have to understand the mind frame of those who drafted it. So it is not readily accessible to worshippers. And what do we do if we have faced with all of this, are the questions that we are raising.
Thank you very much, Madam Josephine, for creating time to talk to us. We are really happy that you're helping us understand this subject. This is Community Connect.